Hello, equestrians. Welcome to Yoga for the Barn Aisle, a podcast presented by Calibo Yoga. I'm your host, Makayla, and today I want to be talking to you about the relationship between New Year's resolutions, and the expectation to overhaul your life. So first off, let's break this down. So with New Year's approaching, there's this pressure of setting new goals, setting new routines, habits, and rituals, all with the idea of becoming the best version of yourself and having the best year yet. And while I love that this approach and this time of year brings about that type of change, it's not always going to be the best option in terms of longevity because of this underlying assumption and pressure to just overhaul your life completely. And between, December 31st to January 1st, your life completely changes. That's not sustainable. And basically that leaves you feeling up in the air, ungrounded, because you're trying to keep the momentum to stick with all of these new habits, this new way of life. And basically you've jumped in without having any of the resources, the support to back up when your motivation and your inspiration decreases. And I will be the first one to quote, let me think about it for a second. I'm going to quote Alex Hormozy here. And he says, where motivation ends, discipline begins. And I completely stand by that, and I believe that is just how life works. Like, motivation ebbs and flows, but discipline is what keeps you consistent. As much as I believe that, I also want to acknowledge that the discipline to completely overhaul your life is very, very different than the discipline to keep up with 2 or 3 new habits. Or maybe it's just one habit. Those are 2 very different conversations, and today I want to talk about the discipline that it takes and the idea of taking just a few new habits and routines rather than completely overhauling your life, because that's just not sustainable. So the first thing, and this ties into the idea of discipline from yoga philosophy, is tapas, or self-discipline. This is one of the niyamas or observances of the self from the 8-limb path. And the idea of self-discipline is exactly what it sounds like. You're really focusing on yourself and specifically your mindset when moving through discipline and disciplining yourself to stay forward. But this also means that you're disciplined enough to not fall into the trap of wanting to overhaul your life entirely. Self-discipline is saying that is not sustainable, that is not helpful for what I want to achieve. So discipline isn't saying, yes, I will stick with this. Discipline can also be saying, no, I'm not doing that. And I want that to be the key thing you take home from this podcast episode if you take home nothing else. Self-discipline, tapas, does not mean I am doing this no matter what. It means I have the freedom of choice to choose what is truly best for me. That's not something that's trending. That's not a pressure from external sources. You can use the internal locus of control idea from psychology. So this is the idea that you have self-determination of how your life goes. And maybe taking aside the religious ideas of self-determinism and the ways of life, taking the internal locus of control is more about being able to choose behaviors to have a desired consequence. And so I'm going to take it from that lens, is your behaviors are the habits and rituals you want to keep in the new year. And then the locus of control is being able to be disciplined enough to stick with these so that the desired consequence can occur or has the possibility of occurring. I also want to talk about isvara-pranidhana, or surrender. So this again goes into surrendering to your self-study and your self-discipline enough to recognize what is going to be truly healthy for you to commit to, as you're setting your New Year's resolutions and your new goals. It's the idea of surrendering and saying, I might have a list of 15 things that I want to change, 15 new habits, 15 new ways of living. But I don't have the current bandwidth to do all 15 at once. I'm surrendering because I'm dealing with seasonal depression. I'm dealing with extra hours at work. I'm dealing with low motivation. Whatever it may be, you can use that surrendering to how you feel to let go of the pressure to overhaul. Surrender to how you're feeling and how you know you will experience setting new goals. Maybe you're someone who sets goals and changes their routines pretty regularly. So choosing 5 things to change might be really achievable for you. But if you're someone that hasn't had New Year's resolutions stick because you've tried to do 10 things every year and it just doesn't happen, you might be someone that chooses 1 or 2 things. And that's where surrendering to your experience comes into play, as well as the idea of tapas, or self-discipline. The final piece of yoga philosophy I want to discuss is satya, or truthfulness. And once again, this goes into allow yourself to be truthful as you surrender and as you practice self-discipline. You don't need to gaslight yourself. You don't need to push yourself into a corner, force yourself back so that you only have one option forward. Be truthful in what's achievable to you. Be truthful in what you want and how you want to do it. Be truthful in recognizing where you're at in your equestrian life. What really needs to be done? Is the overhaul really going to be that great of an experience for you, for your horse, for the people around you? Probably not. So, looking at New Year's quickly approaching as the holiday season rushes past us, let go of the expectation to overhaul your life. Stand in your truth. Surrender to what this season of life is shining or showing to you. And then practice the self-discipline to let your New Year's resolutions, your goals, your winter arc be achievable, be attainable. Only when you combine these 3 ideas can you step into your biggest, boldest, most beautiful equestrian self. And I'm taking that little phrase from a wonderful podcaster named Beck Stewart. She hosts In Her Power podcast, and I highly suggest anyone give her a listen. I love listening to her. I have listened to her for almost 3 years now, and a lot of her little phrases I noticed that I want to say to you guys. So I'm trying to really acknowledge when I notice someone else's phrase and let you guys know where it comes from. So moving back into the episode, this is going to be a really short episode, but I just wanted to leave you with these 3 ideas. Tapas, isvara-pranidhana, and satya. Those mean self-discipline, surrender, and truthfulness. Thank you so much for listening to yet another episode of Yoga for the Barn Aisle by Makayla Yoga. I would be honored if you would give us a follow, subscribe to us on YouTube, maybe like this episode, like the podcast, and send in a comment of a topic that you want to see next. Even better than that would be sending this episode to someone you know needs to hear this. Maybe needs the gentle nudge to let go of the expectation to overhaul as they're working on their own New Year's resolutions. If you're looking for more, hop on over to calboyoga.com, find out more about the courses, programs, and online offerings that we have, and better yet, subscribe to the email list. This is where you'll get VIP access. You'll be able to help me build all the new programs, courses, live online workshops, so that you can get out of them exactly what you want to. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.